This memory isn't one I talk about often. In fact, I don't even like thinking about it. It feels like some kind of shadow that's been sitting quietly in the corner of my mind, something I'd rather keep there. But lately, it's been slipping back into my thoughts, and I can't help wondering if telling the story might finally give me some kind of peace. Or maybe it'll just remind me why I stopped talking about it in the first place. I went to a boarding school a few miles outside the city, a quiet, isolated campus surrounded by pine trees and fog that rolled in almost every evening. I joined in 8th grade and ended up staying through most of high school. My roommate's name was Ethan Ward. At first, we weren't close, just two strangers tossed into the same small room, 2 beds, 2 desks, and a creaky window that barely opened. We didn't talk much, but over time we settled into that awkward kind of roommate silence where you get used to each other's habits. Or at least I thought we did. Because a few weeks into the semester, Ethan did something that made me question everything about him. He handed me a folded piece of paper. No context, no explanation. Just said, "You should read this before bringing anything else into the room." When I unfolded it, I realized it was a list. A weird one. It said, no mirrors, no salt, no frogs, no pictures of animals, and absolutely no candles. I remember laughing, thinking it was a prank, but Ethan didn't even smile. He looked dead serious. When I asked what the hell that was supposed to mean, he just said, "It's better this way." I didn't push. Boarding school kids can be strange, some superstitious, others just lonely, but something about his tone stuck with me. At first I brushed it off, but as weeks went by, Ethan's behavior got stranger. He'd mutter under his breath late at night, whispering to himself when he thought I was asleep. Not the normal sleep talk kind, it sounded like he was having a conversation. Sometimes I'd catch a few words like, "Don't come closer," or "Stay there." Other nights, it was just quiet humming that stopped the second I moved. The first time I confronted him, he said I must have been dreaming, but after that, I started keeping a flashlight next to my bed. One night, around 2:30 a.m., I woke up because he was whispering again. Only this time, I could hear his words more clearly, like he was arguing with someone who wasn't there. I sat up slowly and saw him sitting cross-legged on his bed, facing the wall. His hands were shaking, and on the floor beside him he'd drawn a rough circle of white powder. Salt, I think. The next morning, it was gone. The floor, spotless, like nothing ever happened. That's when I knew something was seriously off. A few days later, he left for class early, and my curiosity finally got the better of me. He always kept this little notebook under his mattress, black cover, no labels, so I pulled it out. Most pages were blank, but a few had writing. It was a list of names. Students from our school. Some crossed out, some not. I recognized a few. Kids from our dorm, kids from our class. But when I saw my own name written halfway down the page, my stomach dropped.
It wasn't crossed out. There were no notes beside it, no explanations, just my name, surrounded by others scratched through with jagged lines. I slammed it shut and shoved it back under his mattress, trying to pretend I'd never seen it. But for days after that, I couldn't look him in the eye. And the worst part? He started acting like he knew. He'd watch me when I was studying. His eyes wouldn't move, not blinking, just observing. Sometimes I'd look up suddenly and catch him staring right at me with this faint smile. It wasn't friendly. It was like he was waiting for something. Then, one night, I woke up to a sound. A whisper. Close. Too close. When my eyes adjusted to the dark, Ethan was standing beside my bed, perfectly still, His face was pale, lit by the faint light from the hallway outside, and that same eerie smile stretched across his face. His hands hovered above me, like he'd been reaching for something or someone. I froze, couldn't even breathe. When I finally found my voice, I shouted his name. He blinked once, slowly, then said in a calm voice, "You were talking in your sleep." That's it. No apology, no explanation. He turned around, got into his bed, and went right back to sleep as if nothing had happened. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a second.
The next morning, I tried to bring it up, expecting him to admit it or laugh it off, but he looked genuinely confused, like he had no memory of the night before. He even smiled, that same empty, distant smile, and said, "You sure you weren't dreaming?" I started avoiding the room altogether, spent more time in my friends' dorms, even slept on their floors some nights. But I couldn't avoid it forever. About a week later, I came back late from the library. The lights in our room were already off. When I switched them on, my heart nearly stopped. There was a snake coiled up on my bed, a real, living snake. I yelled so loud that the boys from the next room came running. Ethan didn't even move at first. He just sat at his desk looking at me with that same blank expression. Then he said, "You sure you weren't dreaming?" A prank with a live snake. When I asked where he even found it, he tilted his head and said, "They're everywhere." Then he picked up a small glass jar from his desk, opened it, and the snake slithered straight in on its own, like it wanted to go back inside. That's when I realized this wasn't just a weird kid anymore. Something about him and about that room wasn't normal. A few nights later, everything changed. I woke up in what I thought was a dream. Couldn't move, couldn't scream. There was this dark, cloud-like mass floating above my bed, twisting and pulsing like it was alive. Then a long, clawed hand reached out of it, scratching my bed frame. Right before it could touch me, it suddenly pulled back as if something had burned it. And then the thing went wild. It started darting around the room, slamming into walls, knocking things off shelves. Then, with a loud crack, it shattered the window and vanished into the night. That's when I actually woke up. Or maybe I was already awake, I don't know, because the glass really was shattered, and there were scratches on my bed frame, deep ones, exactly where that claw had been. I jumped up and ran to Ethan's bed. He was asleep, peaceful, even snoring. I shook him hard. He didn't wake. For a split second, I actually wanted him to wake up, to yell, to tell me I imagined it. But he just kept sleeping, and that scared me more than anything. When he finally woke the next morning, he looked around like he didn't recognize the room. When he saw the broken window, he turned to me and said, "What did you do?" I tried to explain, but he didn't believe me. He started yelling, then hissing, literally hissing like an animal. And then out of nowhere, he started shouting words in a language I'd never heard before. That's when the RA burst in and pulled us both out of the room. I didn't sleep there again. The next day, they told me Ethan had been transferred. No explanation, no goodbye, his stuff was gone. When I asked what happened, the headmaster said, "Ethan is no longer your concern." That's all. I never saw him again. And to this day, I can't explain what happened that night, how the window shattered from the inside, or how those claw marks ended up burned into the wood of my bed. All I know is that when I close my eyes sometimes, I still hear him whispering, and I still don't keep salt in my room. Because whatever Ethan was protecting himself from back then, I think it found a new room to visit next.
If you're still thinking about this one, don't even try watching the next childhood stories. Trust me, once you start them, sleep won't come that easy.